Today, I'm gonna be talking to Brian, who's produced for Drake, Travis Scott, Don Toliver, and so many more crazy artists. Today, we're gonna talk about how he made his connections in the industry, networking, and so much more. So, let's get into it.
You know, you got stuff going on and stuff's moving, man.
Yeah, it's good to stay busy. It's good to stay busy.
What, out of curiosity, what synths do you have back there?
I'll start with my favorite one. My first one that I ever got was, I started with an OP1, obviously. So shout out Teenage Engineering. I feel like they always show me hella love. They send me hella gear and fucking love them, honestly. The Prophet 6, that was the one that I would say like I really utilize a lot. The Prophet 6, I've even customized it to have sounds that I really like. Mellotron here with all the sound cards. I love Mellotron, great company. Shout out Marcus. He always sends me these cards before they're out. So like, Deckard's Dream, that's a Japanese emulation of a CS80. One of my favorites right now. I've been really utilizing that. I got a Mode 1, got a Pulsar 23, I got an ASR 10. I have a Summit, I have a Prophet Rev 2, a Jupiter X, a Poly D, a little JU06A, and then if we talk about like more gear I have too, like from pedals to tape echoes to effects, and that's
So you...
I think I would say probably, but like I'm very hybrid. Like I like to blend both.
That's really good. So I feel like a lot of people are just either or. So that's really, really good.
I like to blend both. I feel like it just depends on my mood. Like there are definitely moods where I'll be like, yo, I'm gonna stick to everything organic and, you know, stay in this world. But then I feel like there's times where it's like, oh, for example, I've been utilizing Des Wright's new instrument hella lately. So, and shout out Des Wright, it's a good friend of mine. So
yeah, bro, I copped the plugin. It's pretty good, bro.
It's sick. I'm excited for the new sounds that's coming with the update.
Bro, Max Shooter made a pack for it, so I'm excited to hear that one too.
I made a pack for it too, so
did you?
Fun. Yeah.
Damn, bro, I'm gonna get it for sure.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to ask you about. I mean, we had talked a little bit before, but you have placements with, you know, Travis Scott, Don Toliver, a lot of the Cactus Jack guys. I know you're constantly working with them. How did that whole connection with that camp come about?
So for first, I've always been a fan of Cactus Jack. You know, it's such a good team, such a great vision. I've always wanted to work with them, but how I really got connected the way I am now, I gotta always give the flowers to Chase B. I always gotta give him the craziest shout out. That's my brother, that's a good friend. I was coming home from LA, and this is around the time that I really only kind of worked with like Hit Boy, G-Rai and them, you know? I was just really kind of starting. And I'm not necessarily starting as a producer, but like, you know,
like starting to get like industry,
yeah. And so like, I had just found out about the Bee's Knees, which is a song I did for Juice WRLD, and I was coming from this trip where, you know, G-Rai had played me the song, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. And if you listen to the Bee's Knees, like, it's a I did that very influenced off Maria I'm Drunk. Like, I was really trying to do like a Maria I'm Drunk type of vibe. So at the time I was doing a bunch of Travis Scott sounds, whatever. Travis was on tour on this Astroworld tour, which was a huge tour, obviously, great time. I live up in Sacramento, and I live in this area near Sacramento called Dorado Hills, but at the time I was living in Sacramento. It was funny because I bought these tickets. I got in this like early access to make sure we could get inside the show early. I know some people were doing that to get merch and shit, but I really wanted to get like a good spot to be able to like see Trav and everything. And it was gonna be me and my wife going. I remember calling my wife being like, yo, the moment I touch down, like I need you to be here early. Like we got to make sure we're there, because literally we're going from the airport straight to the show. Because I was really putting in some work and like locking into the studio in LA. So bro, my wife was 40 minutes late, and I was getting calls from my friends and like, bro, the line's already like hella long. I don't know what's going on. We don't even know where the early access is. So like there's no early access entrance for the people that had early access. And I was just like, oh my God, like, yo, I remember calling my wife. I was like, bro, like, I think we're cooked. Like, I don't know what's going on. And I wouldn't say I was upset, but like, you know, it's frustrating. It was a little frustrating. So I'm just waiting at the airport. I'm just like, not necessarily in a bad mood, but I was like, fuck, man. And I see someone with these like Jordan 1s, the Travis Scott joints. They weren't released at the time. So in my head, I'm like, man, who the fuck? Like, who's wearing these? Like, I'm like, yo, that's Chase B. I see him and I'm like, oh, I got it. And I was on the phone with my boy and I was like, hey, Chase B's right here, bro. Let me call you back. But I recognized it was Chase because I seen the shoes and then I see the face. I'm like, bro, hold up, this is Chase. I go up to Chase and I'm like, hey man, I gotta give you your flowers, bro. Like, thank you for everything you and Trav have done. Like, I'm such a fan of Cactus Jack, whatever, you know. And he was super nice. He was like, yeah, man, like, thank you. And so he went about getting his bag. And in my head, I'm like, bro, if you don't try to get a phone number, you're dumb. And like, bro, I don't know, like, for me, it wasn't hard, but like, damn, am I really gonna circle back? Like, that's how I was like, no, you know, maybe I'll just DM him. Maybe I'll just like, I don't know. I circled back, I was like, hey bro, like my exact words were, I'd be an idiot if I didn't tell you I was a producer and I would love to send you some beats and sounds. I don't know if you produce too. I know you're a DJ. And he was like, oh hell yeah, I've been making beats lately, blah, blah, blah. You produce, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of told him what I produced and he gave me his number. And you know, when he typed it in my head, I'm like, man, he probably gave me a fake number. I don't know, but the bubbles were blue. So when I went to the show, luckily we were able to still find a good entrance. We were able to be front. So I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I want to be near wherever the DJ booth's at, because maybe like if I see him or something, like, you know, I was really thinking like, it's funny because I say this and it's like, man, this sounds funny. But like at the time I was like, oh, you know, like, and so when the show was done, bro, I was so inspired. So I would text him like, yo, bro, this show was crazy. Then I started sending him like 3 to 5 ideas every week, just consistently. I started sending some beats, then I started sending some melodies, and then probably like for 3-4 months, just sending even with no response. And in my head, I'm like, bro, he probably gave me the wrong number. I really didn't know. And so there's a snippet of Young Thug and Sheck West like singing to the song, which is now known as Mayday. And I get a call from Chase. It's a random FaceTime. He's like, yo, we got a crazy one, and it's a snippet. And I'm like, yo, I would have never guessed. I'm hearing the snippet knowing it's my melody, but I'm not knowing who it was. I'm thinking like, oh, maybe it was me and Super Mario, or maybe it was me and, you know, London on the track. I don't know. Like, it could have been somebody I was already working with, but no, it was me and Chase. From there, bro, me and Chase B ended up doing a bunch of songs together. Like, I did Mayday, I did For Me, I did Casino, I did Ring Ring. Obviously, a lot of people know Ring Ring, and we ended up doing a bunch of things. But me and Chase, throughout the time, we would, you know, I'd go to Houston, we'd lock in, we'd make some beats, you know what I'm saying? And he'd come out to LA and I'd, you know, pull up on him and we'd make a bunch of things and plays. Like, you know, that's how we did Street Sweeper with Sway Lee and shit. That was in LA. And there's like a bunch of songs I have with Chase that we're a good duo. You know, we work well together. Like, you know, it's like the ideas we always do together, they don't miss. And so throughout that time, that's how I ended up like meeting Don and getting, you know, cool with Don. And, you know, me and Don is a whole separate story of, you know, we obviously went crazy, but obviously everything Cactus Jack, I gotta give a big shout out to Chase B. That's my brother, bro. And, you know, he always knows I'm thankful for that. And I gotta give him the flowers when it comes to that.
That story in itself could be like an entire movie.
Nah, bro, I was just telling someone, I was like, you know, man, like, because everybody's different. Every producer is very different. You know, there's people who are good at socializing and going out of their way, and there's people who actually deal with social anxiety. There's people who deal with like not knowing how to walk up to someone and say what up, and you know, and I think about it, I'm like, man, if I never had that courage to go up to Chase and be like, yo, or even that circle back, you know, like there's people who would have choked to get that circle back, you know. It's like I probably wouldn't have all the records I do.
I'm a very big person on exactly what you think. I mean, you know, I hit you up I think twice to try to get this interview done. You don't understand the amount of people I've reached out to try to get one done. I'm very thankful I'm doing it with you, because if I'm being honest, I've looked at your career for a while now and I'm like, nah, this is like one of those guys. And I completely agree with what you're saying on like the whole networking aspect. I think a lot of people are, you know, inclined to not do it. I actually have friends who are like, no, like they have a Tekka song or a, you know, a Drake song at some point that's gonna come out. They're like, I'm gonna start hitting people up after the song drops. But I'm just like, no, just start now. You know, start now. Like, you're gonna waiting too long. You know, you might be missing out on your prime, if that makes sense. The other thing is, if the song never comes out, you've wasted all this time.
It's important, man. It's important. You know, before getting on this interview, I had a few calls. I literally was just talking to someone and just telling them like the importance of networking, not necessarily with just bigger producers, but even the producers around you that probably don't have placements yet, just like, or if they do, not the biggest placements, you know, the people around you that are, you know, as equal on, I hate talking like that, like status wise, right? Where it's like, you know what I mean? But like, I don't like talking like that, because I try to treat people very equally, and I don't try to view others like, oh, you ain't got no placements and things like that. I try not to ever think like that. But the music behind it is how I try to look at people more as like, what value do they bring to my work, or to what I could allow to bring to a table, or vice versa. Like, because eventually, bro, everybody has a table, bro. Everybody has a plate to offer. Everybody's gonna always have an opportunity. I never try, and I never try to look at people like, oh, well, they're gonna benefit off. I'm like, no, man. Like, in the end of the day, bro, I love music, so I try to look at this more like, man, what feelings can I capture with people? Sometimes you gotta view the world of like, yeah, like, this is who I am, this is who I work with, this is who they are. They probably haven't worked with nobody yet, but you know, a lot of people do base off their network off who they are and who they've worked with. And you know, I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing, you know, to each their own on how they allow people in their circle, and it's respect. You know, I think a lot of times, bro, these bigger producers already have their circle. Like, I already know who I need to work with, so I don't let too many new people in. I gotta really actually kind of know you, or you probably know someone I really respect for you to enter my world. And it's like that for a lot of other people. So I always tell people like, yo, man, it's important for you to build around the ones that are building with you too, because they become the next big thing. They become this, like, yo, like, you know, it's a bunch of people. Like, I wasn't who I was the whole time. Des Wright wasn't who he was the whole time. Like, you know, Benny X wasn't who he was the whole time. Like, look at us now. Like, we kind of all started in a very similar timepiece, where when we started getting placements was around the same time, but we're all in different worlds now. Benny X is arguably one of the biggest producers right now in the game that's coming, like, you know, that just freshly popped off. And he's going insane. And, you know, that's someone I really look up to. Even Des Wright, man. Des Wright's always on the right albums, on the perfect songs. And he's like the type of guy that doesn't just get one, he gets multiple. Like, and obviously there's people that will say the same shit about me. To me, that's admirable. Like, those are things that's like, imagine if I was just so focused on not talking to them because at the time they didn't have placements. Like, no, it's important to see people for their talent, for what they bring to the table. It's not all about like, oh, he's working with Drake, so yeah, let's fuck with him because he's working with Drake. Like, no, nah, or whoever, it doesn't matter. It's like, nah, man, he makes good music.
I gotta give you your flowers for that, because if I'm being honest, I mean, I'm being put in a position now where I'm working with a lot bigger people, you know, and you are 1000% the most humble person I have talked to in music.
Oh man, thank you, bro.
I've been doing this for a while, and I'm being so sincere. I completely agree with you on the fact that, like, you know, you have to do a horizontal sort of networking, like people around you.
You can't stop aiming up though. You know what I mean? Because I'll be such a liar. I said I didn't aim up. I was around, but like, no, like, I was blessed enough to be able to see even my surroundings. Like, you know, I did mention Benny and Des, but like, even talking about my brother Kid Culture, like Kid Culture, Shindo, Frankie XY, those are really my day ones, you know. And even in our group, I was probably one of the last ones to get a placement first. You know, I remember I was like, when I had 0 placements, like Kid Culture was working with like YBN Corday, doing whole albums with him. He did Yummy for Justin Bieber. He was doing hella shit with other artists too. And I remember just being like, damn, bro, I was so happy to see like somebody that we were just making beats because we liked each other's sounds. And I met Kid Culture because back then we would go on Instagram lives. We would go on this guy Cash Johns, who's the CEO of Winter Circle. We would go on his lives and he would play beats from people, and so I would just pay attention to other people's beats and be like, who has a cool sound, and I would go network with them. Kid was one of those people, and Kid, you know, me and him connected off that. We had no placements, bro. We had no placements, you know, and Kid just ended, you know, Kid at the time was signed to Pooh Bear. I didn't know that, but I was just rocking with him because he had a cool sound, and vice versa. So we ended up going crazy. And then I used to work a lot with Wallace Lane. And you know, shout out Wallace Lane. You know, Wallace Lane those are some good friends of mine as well. And same with Shindo, who's the producer of Peaches. He's produced for Chris Brown or Zuna, like, you name it. Like, he's also signed to Pooh Bear. And yeah, I met him working with them, and it's like I said, it's like I wasn't ever paying attention to, like, you know, at the time when I met Shindo didn't have placements, you know, so I was never focusing on it like oh, I'm working with him because he's working with, no, like, we always looked at it like, no, we just make good music together, and it was fun, and we were all together, you know, like, we were all together as homies. Like, it was me, Frankie, Shindo, Kid, all of us, and we would go to LA together, and we would go to the studio, and we would make music together. And you know, Shindo would pull up to my crib, and you know, we would make music there, and even like all of us with Frankie and stuff. Like Frankie's like a real day one of mine too. And you know, we have so many cool records together too, and it's just things like that. That's like, that was a group that I would say we didn't focus like on the vertical, you know, but obviously at the side of us working, I was still trying to work with like the bigger producers.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's completely fine, but you can't always just focus on, you know, working with the people above you. You gotta network.
Pay attention to your surroundings, because there's gonna be heavy hitters there.
1000%.
You don't want to miss on that, because at the time they weren't working with your favorite artists. You know what I mean?
I think that's completely true. Shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to ask you, you're mentioning a lot of people, your day ones and things like that, but something that also caught my attention was, even before, you know, being with Chase B, linking up with him, you already had some motion in the music industry. What was the story behind your first big placement, where you kind of said like, I can do this, like I can live off music?
The story behind my first big placement, I used to be a mailman. I would work, but I'd also go to college some days. And when I was graduating college, college became more part-time, so I was able to balance like a full-time job, and you know, at night go to school and shit. And it was crazy, because once I got the understanding of semi how to network and music production and whatnot, because I started producing music around, I've always played guitar, but like producing and making beats was towards the end of 2016. Around November 2016 is the time I bounced my first beat ever. So like, yeah, and I have the stamp to that. So I was like, yo, like this is when I really started. It was funny because around that time I worked with some local artists from around here, and so, you know, I spent the first year just kind of like dabbling along, trying to get the understanding of shit. And I had made a mixtape with some artists from here, and one of my wife's childhood friends, which is one of my friends now too, he had heard this mixtape I did. He sent it to one of his friends that he went to high school with that was working at Warner. So it's funny, like all this shit is like connecting somehow. It was like kind of crazy.
Yeah, happening like without you knowing, just all connecting.
Just connecting, and at the time I was still chasing to work with people, but like this play that he made honestly was one of those plays that I'd have to say like played a pretty big role that then like I would suspect it to have. And the guy that he connected me with is my current manager, PJ Escobar, another day one. And shout out PJ, man, so much love for PJ always. He heard my fucking mixtape and was like, yo, I love the beats, I hate the artists. So I can't help if they don't like the artist, you know. At the time I had mixed, I had mastered, I had produced all these things. So I was like, I just remember I was like, I can send you the beats. It's just a mixtape. Like that was, you know, it's nothing serious. So I sent him the beats, and he, you know, from there he was like, yo, I need beats like this. I need beats like this. And then he was like, I think he realized how uneducated I was. I was very uneducated in the beginning. I would just listen to music and I didn't pay attention to credits or nothing. So like he would be like, yo, you ever heard of like, and he'd name producers. I'd be like, I don't know who you're talking about. So then he was like, yo, you need to go on this site, Genius, find your favorite songs, see who's the producers on them. And what you do is you look them up and go find their Instagram, go find their Twitter, go, you know what I'm saying? And so I started doing that, and that's how I started like getting to know more producers. And at the time, I was a huge Party Next Door fan, huge Drake fan, like huge Drake fan, obviously, man. Like I think like my top artists like at the time for hip hop was like, yeah, Drake, Kendrick, Cole. Like this is around that time that, you know, the trio, the big three, the big three. But like, it's one of those things that I was like always just paying attention. But yeah, if you're a Drake fan, you're listening to Party Next Door. At the time, there were specific Party Next Door songs that I was like obsessed with the production and the feeling. And so I ended up following G-Rai, Nino, Prep, like at that time. G-Rai one time posted on his stories like, hey, I'm doing, you know, these collabs. I had texted him, I had messaged him from that thing and was like, yo, like how much? And he said the price, I paid it. And that first collab ended up being one of my first placements with somebody that was doing decent numbers, and it was K Forest ONS. And it was just a guitar idea that I did. And then from there, I paid G.I. for another collab. And then something else came from that. We got a cut with, I don't know if it was Landstrip Chip or it was another like, you know, up and coming artist at the time, right? At the time, because this is like, bro, this is like 2018. So at the time I was like, knowing who these people were for the first time. Me and G.I. just connected from there, man. And you know, shout out to G.I., bro. G.I. has a lot to do with the beginning of my career. G.I.'s, you know, obviously brought a lot of opportunity to me in the beginning, so I'll always give him his flowers for that. And you know, it was beautiful, man. We accomplished a lot of things together, from the Juice WRLD songs to, you know, everything in between in the beginning. You know, if you look up my catalog, you'll see him in a few records, and so always thankful for that. And yeah, man, like it's cool to see like how much someone's career can have different chapters and different people, and you know how you build off that, you know, and it's beautiful. It's very beautiful to see. But yeah, my first placement ever was based off a paid collab where I gave myself a chance to I was like, yo, I really want to work with someone that I admired their work and music and specific songs that they were a part of, and it worked. That was basically the beginning of my first placement, and my first major placement was Juice WRLD, the Bee's Knees, which as well was with G-Rai, Hit Boy, and No ID.
You've already worked with some legendary people, bro. Like, even so young into your career, that's insane to me.
It's a blessing, man. God's been good, and the people around that made it happen, shout out to them always, man. You know, always very thankful, and it's a blessing, man, you know.
When we were talking earlier, you had kind of told me the story of how you had met Don, and I had it flipped. I was wondering if you could tell me the story on how that happened, because I know that also involves Travis and things like that. So if you could tell me about that as well.
So how I met Don was obviously through Chase B. Me and Chase worked a lot. We still do. So I'm not even gonna say we work a lot around the summer. We still work a lot. But we were working around the pandemic time. We were working on some ideas, and I believe there's a song called Ring Ring that was made. Sadly, there's a leaked version. I don't know who the fuck leaked Ring Ring. That shit was crazy. Honestly, that was such a disappointing moment when I heard that leak, because for one, that was one of my first songs with Travis Scott. So I was like, yo, like, whoever leaked this, man, like.
Is it true that sometimes it's like the engineers that do it, or not?
I don't know. I actually don't know. Like, bro, I stray away from, I sometimes don't even like having access to specific songs, because I don't ever want to be pointed the finger at doing shit. So for me, it's like, I could live my life not having a record in my hands all the time. If I have it, that's cool, but like, bro, it's my career. This is what takes care of my wife, my kids. Like, I'm not gonna fuck up my finances or my chances or what I've built. But now, man, around that time, it was New Year's. I get a call from Chase, and he's like, yo, put this idea to the side. And the idea is like this guitar thing that I was honestly trying to send to Post Malone, because I was working with Posty at the time with Jay Lauren. So a lot of these ideas, I was really kind of like keeping them, I wouldn't say exclusive, but I was really secluding them from other people, because I was really working closely with Posty. And I had sent this idea accidentally to Chase. I see like a snippet on Instagram, like I hear the guitars, and I'm like, no way they got on this. This is crazy. And it was just Don at first. And when Chase showed me the record, I was like, bro, this sounds beautiful. It's like, yo, Don's voice is insane. Like, this is really cool. Like how melodic he could be. And then, you know, when you hear Can't Say, it's like, oh, he could do the melodic hard shit too. And then, you know, you just realize like this guy has range from like, if you wanted to do like a hard ass beat to something melodic to something very pretty. It's like, he really fits on all the vibes.
That's what I love about Don, bro. That's really truly what I love about it. He's very versatile on anything.
Exactly, and that's something that when I heard him on Ring Ring, I realized like, he's one of those artists that's like, he really could do a lot of shit with. I met Don around that time when I went to Houston, and Ring Ring already existed. It was just Don and Ty Dolla $ign at the time. And then I'm in Houston with Chase, and Chase is like, yo, Trav about to get on this shit. And, you know, Chase is showing me, like, you know, Trav basically hyped to get on it. You know, Don was around the time, like, when I was there, so I would, you know, link with Don. And, you know, me and Don were always like, yeah, we got to get in. Yo, we got to work on some shit. And then, you know, me and Don already had songs prior to meeting with Chase. We had 2 songs, but we didn't know each other. So it wasn't like we had songs. Like, I had a song with Don that was supposed to be on a Big Sean album that I did with Hit Boy. And then me and Kid Culture had a song with Don Toliver too, when around the Donnie Womack era, before Don even was around Trav and them, you know?
So you already had like some sort of connections to him, but like not.
But it wasn't direct. It was never like, you know, like we didn't know each other like that.
But that's crazy. That's still crazy.
So then when Ring Ring happened, that, you know, me and Don would always run into each other when I'd be around Chase or anything, or even when like we had done some camp for the Utopia days, I went to Houston, me and Don as well. Like it was one of those things where it's like we would run into each other and we'd hear about our work, but we just still like weren't connected fully. So one time I was in LA with Chase, Don was leaving the studio. I believe I already had his line, or I think that's when I got his line. And I was like, yo, bro, like I'm in town to this day. Like we got records already together like crazy. I was already hearing him cut to a bunch of ideas that I was doing with Chase. This is around the time Chase B and Don were doing an album called Escapism. To be honest, bro, I was all over that shit. I had hella songs. And so I told Don, I was like, bro, let's link. Like, we're already going crazy. Like, and he's like, yeah, pull up to the crib, whatever. The first time I pulled up to the crib, you know, I was playing some ideas. He recorded some shit. I had this curiosity because Sonny Digital had told me to put this idea on hold because he got on it. So I played the melody. And honestly, Sonny flipped the shit out of this melody that me and Frankie did. It was a song called Way Bigger. And so when I played the idea, Don's like, oh shit, this is way bigger. So he starts singing it. And so he plays me the song and I'm hearing the song. I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy. The outro, Way Bigger, which is very slowed down. It's like the original composition. It's crazy because that's how it happened, was just me playing the melody, making sure if there is something going on with this, if I should keep it on hold or what's going on. He's like, yo, like let's record this and like let's put it into the song and whatnot. And yeah, nah, man, that was a beautiful time, bro. Like that, I feel like that was around the time that me and Don got more connected, and then Lovesick came around. I wasn't as involved in Lovesick, but I did have 2 songs on Lovesick. Shout out to Derek, 206 Derek. You know, I had this, he had let me jump in and add some ear candies and some, you know, some of my sounds onto Time Heals All. Derek killed that beat, bro. Derek went insane on that beat. That was him and Maddie Spatz.
Bro, I've been trying to get with Derek for I don't know how long. Derek is a legend, bro. Absolute legend.
He's one of those guys, bro. He has a great ear, and his history and his story is fire, bro. The amount of people he's been around, like he's been around some legendary shit from a time, and I know a lot of people probably know him for his engineering stuff. On some serious shit, bro, he's a great producer, good ear. Like he knows what the fuck he's doing. So shout out to 206 Derek. You know, he allowed me to be on Time Heals All, and at the time I already had a song on Lovesick with Seven Thomas, fucking legend, one of my favorite producers. We did Slow Motion, and that was a WizKid, and that was a great song. That was a great record. From that, when that album came out, that shit did decent, but you know, it was one of those things. It was a great album. Like when you really listen to that album, it was a great album. But I just remember it was like, yo, like I just always realized, like, damn, from Ring Ring to Way Bigger to now these 2, it's just like every time I work with Don, it's like the sounds are always evolving. If you listen to all those songs I just named real quick before we get to Hearthstone, they're all different vibes. You know what I'm saying? They could be very melodic, but they're different vibes. And then, yeah, Hearthstone came about, and as a team, we went nuts, bro. Like we went nuts. Obviously, like there are songs that I did also besides having me and Derek there, but like me and Derek, we just, 1, we work well together, and 2, like we also just have a vision for Don's sound, and we know what Don also wants, or whenever Don communicates something he wants, we just know how to execute that. And whether it's together or individually, but like, you know, we just already work very well together. So Hearthstone was a lot of me and Derek, and you know, shout out to Derek, shout out to everybody involved in Hearthstone, from Sycamore to Don to everybody that allowed me to be in it. That shit was beautiful. There was records there that were already existing before I even jumped into the process of working on the album. Like, you know, Donnie Darko was one of them. Inside was another one of them. You know, it was beautiful. So yeah, no, man, my relationship with Don always just grew throughout the time. But you know, the biggest thing I gotta say is shout out to Chase B for the introduction. Shout out to Chase B for putting me on, and you know, and it's cool that I was able to work with Don even beforehand. Like I said, Chase is really who like connected us. But like I had songs with Don with Hit Boy, and I had songs with Don with Kick Culture, and this was, you know, this was like before Donnie Lil Mac days, like around the, you know, when he had just signed to APG. So
Chase B's a legend, bro. Like from everything that you've been saying, that's incredible.
Nah, that's my brother, bro. That's really a great friend of mine, and I'm always thankful for it. He probably, I'm not saying he gets annoyed of it, but like he probably hears me say thank you to him so many times that, you know, I always just want to make sure he knows, man, like he's very appreciated on this side, bro. So
now, quick side question, because like on a personal note, Hearthstone Psycho, I think, I don't want to say revitalized completely, but it really re-inspired me on music as a whole. Did you do the guitars on Kryptonite?
Yeah, I did do the guitars on Kryptonite. You know, man, that song that intro, really what started is there is a version of Rockstar Girl, and I had done like some guitar solo. There was like a rock version of Rockstar Girl, and there was a version that came out obviously, but and I actually don't know which version was first. I just remember they had given me a version.
There was an original version. I'm always seeing that like on YouTube and stuff, like, oh, the version that, like the leaked version or whatever.
And I don't know none of that. I don't know none of that. I just remember I was given a version from the team, and they're like, yo, I had some shit, and I did some solo, and Don was super hyped off it, and like, you know, it set the tone of me playing guitar, and I had brought a guitar to the spot.
What guitar do you tend to use? Like electric guitar?
I tend to always try to use like a Telecaster. I love the Telecaster build. Frankie had let me borrow his Jazzmaster for those sessions, so because I didn't want to be like, yo, can I borrow this guitar? Like, no, like I just wanted to come in and like, you know, shout out Frankie for real for letting me borrow this.
Is that Frankie on the guitar, or am I tripping? It's another Frankie?
No, that's me. The Frankie I'm talking about is Frankie XY. That's like that's a good friend of mine. I remember entering these sessions, I was just like, yo, can I borrow your guitar? Because I need to have an actual guitar that I could be playing. He did. Very nice of him. That's my brother forever, for real. So like, I entered these sessions, and after that, I think, you know, when I heard Kryptonite, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Crazy. And at the time it was Kryptonite and a song called 100 Degrees. So they had sent me Kryptonite first, and when I was playing with Kryptonite, I was like, they really liked this solo that I did on Rockstar. Like, they went crazy over some like guitar with distortion. It wasn't, I didn't do nothing too special on that fucking solo.
But still, like, it's a unique sound to get like a Don on, or like a rapper on. Like you don't hear that too much of that in hip hop as a whole.
Right. So there's a part in that song that I was like, yo, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow the bass notes on the song with distortion, and then I'm gonna also end up doing like, not necessarily a solo, but I'm gonna do a stack of harmonies that's gonna sound like a solo. So when you hear it, you're gonna be like, oh my god, he's soloing, but really it's just that's not a solo. It's a counter melody really to the melody. But what I did is, when I did that melody, I did like a 3-stack of harmonies with a bunch of distortion. So it starts sounding like, whoa. And to be honest, like, you know, getting into my musical background, when I was a kid, I listened to a bunch of like Nirvana, Slipknot, Metallica. Like I loved a lot of from alternative rock music to like metal. And so it's funny because some of my friends, when they heard this, it was like, yo, this has like a Avenged Sevenfold type of influence. And I was like, yo, that's hilarious, because, you know, growing up when I would play guitar, I did look up to Sinister Gates for his harmonies. You know, Sinister Gates had some of the hardest, like, you know, harmonies and guitars that I ever heard. I liked Avenged Sevenfold for some songs, but I wasn't the biggest Avenged Sevenfold fan, so I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my god, bro, like A7X was my shit. Like, no, a few songs were my shit. It wasn't the whole band as a whole thing type.
Have you ever tried to, I mean, there's a trick that I've been seeing where you just, you know, record their guitar top line and you run it through like Waves or Antares Harmony, and it gives it those harmonics.
I did that on 4x4. The beginning on 4x4, I did that. So there's some, like, I already knew about that trick. So like, I did that trick on some of them, but the thing is, if you listen to Kryptonite and you listen to 4x4, 2 different sounds of harmonies. If you want like an organic, hard hitting like harmony stack, you gotta layer it yourself. You know, it has unique character. And then if you just want something quick, then, you know.
Yeah, at least to get the idea down for sure.
The Antares shit, that it just has like a Mike Dean sound, you know, which is cool. You know, it's just cool, and you know, that's legendary. But now for this one, I was trying to get more of like a rock vibe, so I wasn't going for like the Kanye West, Mike Dean, like distorted aggressive sound. I was trying to go for something a little more in a different genre. So when I sent that in, funny enough, I sent it to Derek in the wrong pitch, because the thing is, the original tuning of the song was not in a tuning that was really friendly with my guitar, so I made it friendly to the guitar, so I had to pitch it up. So when I sent stems, the stems were guitar in a higher pitch. So,
and that was for Kryptonite?
Yeah, for Kryptonite. So when I sent the stems to Derek's like, the key sounds awesome. So I can't imagine when they pressed play and add my parts, it probably sounded funny. I really don't know. But I just remember I told Derek, I was like, damn, bro, I pitched it up this much. And I had seen his text a little late because I was so locked in doing some other shit. So he had hit me up. He's like, yo, pull pull-ups because we were doing this camp. So like the camp was like, we were in this house creating music, and Don had like his own separate lockout where he was really like, you know, jamming the shit we were making. So Derek was like, yo, pull up real quick. And I listened to Kryptonite, and bro, the way Derek found the tuning of these guitars is what gave it its tone that it has when you hear it. It's such a nice, like, yo, whatever Derek did to what I did, really, and it's like, it enhanced the tone of my guitar. It was like, that's why he's just such a genius when it comes to like shifting sound, bro. It's insane. And so I hear it, the transition, like when you hear like the bottle cracking and then it goes to 100 degrees, bro, when those guitars were added, it gave me goosebumps. And I remember I told Derek, I was like, bro, this was like, you know, because the thing really what it was is I added a bunch of ideas. I added some synthesizers, some ear candies, even a bass, everything. And they picked and chose what they wanted. And then after that, Don was like, yo, add some shit to 100 degrees. And so on 100 degrees, I added like a bass and some like ear candy and shit. But like, yo, like, you know, which is the second part was like, it's 500 degrees. You know, all you need. Like that part is so crazy, bro. Like that intro was like probably one of the first intros I've ever heard. Like whenever someone asks me like, what was your favorite part of working in Hearthstone Psycho? It's a lot of moments, but like it's really between Kryptonite and 4x4. Those are the two that I'm like always like, I love those two songs a lot. Those are songs I listen to very often.
Are you going to talk about 4x4?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can. I mean, 4x4 was already ready. That song existed. I think I was at home. My baby was already born, and Derek was like, yo, like, you want to try some shit on this? And I was like, bro, I fucking love this song. When I had already heard it, I was like, this is nuts. So I started with the guitars in the beginning, and I wanted to work fast. Like that's something I think a lot of them admire about me, is that when they ask for something, I return it to you as fast as I can. And so I did that. I had added like some bass layers from my Prophet 6. And then what else did I do? I did some ear candies, and it's just sprinkled throughout the song. But yeah, like those main guitars in the beginning and everything, that's, you know, I think that's something that I was trying to add towards the middle of the song rather than the beginning. But Derek heard it and was like, no, we're adding this here, that synth, all those synths and shit. Like, yeah, those are all things I was adding throughout the song for ear candies. And you know, everything how Derek, you know, I know Derek produced that with, it was him and SB Josh, and there's a few of us involved into the record too. I'm involved in so many songs that I don't want to butcher who else is involved. I want to say Bugs is on that song as well. Yeah, but from what I know,
I have it here. Like new drop, it's Wheezy, Desiree Coleman, Sinum, and Brian Yepes.
So I think 4x4, I want to say Bugs is on that, and I believe Baby Kobe is too.
Baby Kobe, I've seen him all over Don stuff. I heard the 2 songs he's put out. Wow, bro. To me, it's like it's Don. Baby Kobe's like right here, bro. Like he could be a full artist if he wants to, bro.
No, he is an artist. He is an artist, and I encourage you to view him that way. I encourage you to view Baby Kobe as an artist. He's an insane creative. He's an insane writer, insane producer.
I see you as an artist as well. Like what we do is art, but I meant as in like, you know, like a singer, like rapper, like that. Now I see him like that. Yeah, now I see it like that, bro. Like it's incredible. The 2 records he's put out, I've had them on repeat all week, bro. And I hate that his Instagram, you can't DM him unless he follows you. I've been trying every single way to get into contact with him too, bro. But yeah, he is a legend, bro.
Look at his credits, man. It's not just Don. It's not just Don. Yeah, it's fire. I want to say he was a part of 4x4. I like I said, Derek is who let me in on 4x4, so I gotta always give Derek his flowers for that. Everybody on that beat, they did their thing. That shit is crazy. That beat is so fucking fire.
4x4 is an incredible beat, yeah.
The parts I did, obviously, is like the intro with all the synths and stuff. I really, you know, I just added to the record nicely that it's just everything we all did as a unit was, bro, like, I want to say Hearthstone Psycho is a very good definition of teamwork. You know, it wasn't none of that like, oh, I could do all this myself. And like, you know, there's a lot of moments that, sure, like, you know, they didn't need to add me, or, you know, we didn't need to add other people either, but like, it was a teamwork thing. We didn't care about all that. We were just like, let's make this sound as best as we can, and that's how music should be perceived. It shouldn't be about, you know, egos and shit. Obviously, when it comes to business, that's a whole different subject, but besides that, like, man, we're in music because we love how it makes us feel. We're in music because you know, we love it. You know, it's supposed to be about the feeling and what you put out first before all the, but if we are this, like, bro, if you're gonna trip about some percentages, like, you're acting like that's your last record in your world. I'd rather have 5 to 10% on a record that is life impacting than having 25 to 50 on a record that doesn't get viewed so much because my ego is too busy getting stroked with the idea of like adding somebody else because I'm gonna lose percentages. Like that's just not it, man. That's just not it.
That's something I've always said. I've always said like I'd rather get a Drake record and just have a credit, not get paid a dime. I would really prefer that, bro. It's gonna take off your career. But bro, speaking of Drake, question I wanted to ask you, which is a very specific song that is on your Genius. I want to hear the story about Laugh Now Cry Later, because that song is legendary, bro. What did you add to it? What was your part in it? What's the story behind it?
The process of Laugh Now Cry Later, really what it was I had produced this composition. So I had produced this chord progression. I had put a piano over it really on this progression, and then I had this bass, I had this vocal sample, and the vocal sample was my own voice. And then I had this counter melody, and there's a version you can actually hear when Drake performed it with Kanye West at the Larry Hoover concert. That same version was performed around some of his tour and other live performances that he did. So if you hear that, that's like, you know, that's the version that you could hear what I did. But what's beautiful is that idea, it was evolved by Roger, who's a genius, you know, he's really good at what he does, and he added the horns and he evolved it to this triumphant feeling, you know, composition as well. So what he added was amazing, and you know, shout out to Roger and G-Rap for that part. And then came, you know, Cardo Got Wings, who's a legend, you know, and Cardo and Young Exclusive, who have done insane records for, you know, for everybody, you know, and they took this idea and they turned it up and arranged it in an insane way. And yeah, that's, you know, that's how Laugh Now Cry Later really came about. Long story short, in a very amazing way, but great record for real, and I'm super honored to be a part of it, and shout out to everybody on that record for real.
The final question that I want to ask you is, if you had to start from scratch today, well, everybody you know in the music industry blocked you, you lose access to your Instagram, you got nothing, how would you start?
If I were to start again on a rebrand, you have to have an idea that you're about to brand something. So whether you keep your name or start a new name, whatever, make sure you stick to something you love when it comes to the title of your brand. Your work ethic and your networking is gonna have to be prioritized, because when you start again, you wanna make sure you have a network and pool of people that you can send your product and ideas to. Very important for you to also have good product to begin with, right? So exercise, you know, and people do jump over that, but I've also met people that, in my opinion, music is subjective. I could say, oh man, that idea was trash, but there's people that know how to shop trash ideas and make them fire, because once the record happens, even if I thought that composition or the beat was trash, if the artist got on it, that's none of my business, man. That's, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, make sure you stick to a product that you like, right? Make sure you're not just doing things for other people and this and that. It's good to know how to do things for other people, but make sure in the end of the day, if you're creating a product on your own time, get your own identity. You know, it's very important for your brand to have its own identity, for you as a producer to have your own sound. But yeah, I feel like if I were to start all over again, yeah, I think in the beginning I'd really focus on my own sound, my own identity, and I would focus heavily on networking and pushing things different, you know what I mean? The biggest thing I'll always recommend is network, man. Network is, we're in an era where hustle beats talent, but it's important, but like also as a musician and as someone who actually, you know, does things, it's important to still keep that talent alive, which is why I say it's very important to still keep your identity into it. But I do recognize hustle beats talent in this era. And so imagine if you have good talent and you can hustle. If you could do both, that's what I would suggest someone to chase after. Don't just disregard the network and the moving things because, oh, this is so good, nobody sounds like this, so it's just gonna find no, like start pushing it.
Amazing advice. Believe it or not, bro, I'm preaching almost the exact same thing, bro. At this point, music is just branding and networking. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, it's a different era, you know. Maybe back then when things were a little bit more harder to reach, you would just hear of someone that was really good at music, and you know, you'd probably go to them. And I'm sure there was even people that were super talented that got slept on. I'm not saying that that's okay or not okay. I think it's beautiful you exercise something so well that you're super talented. But if you're just a talented person, if you don't want to make it a market, if you don't want to make it a brand, then that's you. That's good that you at least know that part. But if you have the chance to, and that's a desire, you should exercise the networking. There's so many people that I've even met that are super talented, but it's stuck because they don't know how to push it out. And you know, sometimes maybe I might collab with them and use what I can, and if it goes somewhere, it's cool. But at the same time, you'd be surprised how many ideas I place that are just simple.
Simplicity is key, I feel like, in music. So that's what I've been realizing lately. It's been sticking a lot.
Those simple ideas are the ones that you don't put too much thought into, and sometimes the ones that you don't put too much thought into have a lot of character because you're not too busy perfecting it. You're not too busy. I do this exercise a lot. Shout out to T- for putting me onto this exercise, but put a timer of like 15-20 minutes and just see what you create. I do mine for 10-15 minutes and just stop and see like what it sounds like and bounce that. And then
I've been practicing that since 2021, bro. When I first got into music, I saw some interview, I think it was with T- or with J. Cole or something. They talked about that, and I'm like, well, if I'm gonna start, I'm gonna start with that. Like, there's no way.
Those things teach you to know, you know, how to perfect your quality. I know there's people that do it for quantity, but no, it's important to teach yourself how to do something good quality in a short amount of time. It helps you learn to not overthink things. And also, I've lately been doing this exercise where it's like, I'm gonna do an R&B idea, and then I'm gonna do like an alternative idea. So like, also like, how can I train myself to go in between genres without having to like, let me inspire myself to get in this mood. Like, nah, like I'm gonna do these 15-minute drills and see how I could get better. Because the more you do it, the more you fail, and the more you try, you're only gonna get better.
Of course. And at some point, music is, I mean, yes, it's inspiration, but I heard a quote, and that's what stuck with me. Music is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. You gotta put in work for it. You know, you can't just always be inspired. Even when you're not inspired, you still have to work, you know?
Right, no, you gotta try, but even then, go outside, breathe, live some life, go watch a movie, or go spend time with your family and friends, and then come back, you know, and you know, maybe you'll be inspired. And if you're not, just try something. You never know, man. There's been so many ideas that I was like, I didn't think this would ever place, and I didn't do that idea in hopes of it getting placed. You know, there's definitely placements I have where I'll tell you, man, I hate that loop, but then I hear the record and I'm like, wow, I love the record though. So like, yeah, no, just always push, man. Just always push. And I think that's something that if I could tell a producer that's rebranding or a producer that's coming in and entering is hey man, like make sure, think about your brand, think about your sound, your identity. Don't get so stuck focused trying to sound like everybody else. Like if you want to exercise that, it doesn't hurt to know how to do that. You know, so definitely try it out, because we are in a business where sometimes an artist will come up to you and be like, I want to do a song like this. If that's not for you, then you could say no, but it doesn't hurt to show people that you could do that too. Because then people will be like, damn, he did that, but he also does this. Like, it's good to show versatility, in my opinion. I'm more wowed by people that are versatile. Another thing is, yeah, like find your own identity, but also learn to push, learn to shop things out, learn to, you know, be smart with this, man. This game is more than just learning how to use instruments and do cool things. It's about, hey, like what you do with this, how do you push it out, how do you brand yourself, are you making videos, are you pushing it out? Like, you might know the right people, you might meet the right people, and the more time goes by, the more you evolve. But like, yeah, I think that would be my biggest advice to people. It's just always evolving from your musicality to your network, and how do you reach out, you know? So it's all a brand.
Amazing, bro. So before we finish up, is there anything you want to plug before I end the recording?
Thank you to everybody watching. Thank you to everybody who follows me. Thank you to everybody who always supports. You know, shout out to everybody that's watching, you know, honestly. And, you know, shout out my family, shout out my friends, like all my producer homies that I probably mentioned here. And I don't know what else I would plug. I'll even out the companies that support me, from like Serato, Teenage Engineering, Sequential, Moog. Like, shout out to everybody, honestly, that helps me out. And to you, you know, thank you for inviting me to this interview. And
thank you, bro. Thank you.
People always could feel free to ask me questions, whether I DM it. If it's a cool question, I might respond. If it's not, you know, try again. You know, try again. Persistence is key. Persistence is key. Oh, shout out to my mentors, like, you know, Dahi, T minus, everybody, all my friends, OZ, everybody, for real. Also, yeah, new shit on the way. Always new shit on the way. So excited for everybody to hear that. So I think that's all I would say, man.